No doubt about it. Xbox has had a rocky road since 2013. Obviously, the DRM situation and I wouldn't even say that E3. The E3 was very stellar in 2013, but the reveal of the Xbox One went pretty piss poor. So when you see stuff like this and you start to see these announcements and you start to see, all these types of things and people switching sides, it's not just propaganda or hearsay. I mean, you're seeing it everywhere and people aren't even hiding it. I know probably you might say, oh, well, CG, aren't you tired of promoting this? Like Xbox is some big deal or whatever. They're obviously not. Well, listen, we're starting to see the swing in not only people's minds, but we're starting to see, how even the media is starting to kind of gravitate a little bit more towards what Microsoft is trying to do. Even like they learn from their mistakes as well. So we can look at this on sort of what's going on. And listen, when they released Redfall, it was supposed to be 60 frames. It was supposed to be, and then like a week before launch, they're like, nope, it's only going to be 30. We're going to update it, blah, blah, blah. That went extremely poorly. Now they get in front of it. They go, okay, well, it's going to be 30 frames on Xbox. This is why. They make a good point. The only people that really cared are like, there was a handful of Xbox owners that did care. I'm not going to lie about it, clearly. But if you look at the specs, even the minimum specs for PC, you're going to spend a lot more than the $500 or $250, whatever it is for the Series S to play this game. So the fact that we're going to be able to play the most polished Bethesda game of all time for that price is just absolutely insane. Microsoft has come a very long way with what they're able to kind of do. And, I also have to kind of point out that we're starting to see the media push stuff like this as well. Like, oh, well, I'm going to sell my PS5. Xbox is finally doing this. Like this one, it says, after a decade of PlayStation dominance, the next year of games belongs to Xbox. Microsoft is coming into their own at the perfect time. This is exactly what I was talking about in 2018, where I said, listen, you guys might think that Microsoft is they're being silly or whatever, Microsoft sucks or whatever the narrative is, to be quite honest with you. There's always some type of narrative, believe you me. But when it comes down to it, what we see is that, gamers are more than willing to give Xbox a chance when they start announcing stuff. Now, I have seen plenty of people go, oh, well, Starfield isn't really Xbox. It was in production beforehand, but they're quick to blame Microsoft for Redfall. And Phil Spencer was honest. He took the blame for Redfall, and he goes, it was a little bit difficult because Starfield was earlier in development when we bought them than Redfall was. So Redfall was basically almost a done thing by the time Microsoft took over, whereas they had to help Bethesda quite a bit. They sent over Xbox engineers. But it is true that Microsoft has the much better lineup. Sony seems to have fired all their bullets and now are waiting to reload. But unfortunately, even Microsoft came out and admit what I said a long time ago is these games aren't coming in a 3-4 year period anymore. It's 5-6 years. So, that's especially if you're making a new game. And you're going to throw Insomniac at me. I get it, right? They're great. But let's just be real. Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank, they're 10-hour games. They're nice games. But, they're like 10-hour games. They're not full-fledged, Starfield-sized games. Well, nothing is, but they're not. So anyway, this article, it's like at some point last week after watching my 100th video game trailer as part of a loosely connected series of live stream showcases that have replaced E3, I started to lose the will. Wholesome indie games featuring frogs, gritty action games, low-poly PS1 era nostalgia platformers, and samey mega franchises all started to bleed into each other. Am I even capable of getting excited about video game announcements anymore? Isn't just an endless series of adverts. Of course, the E3 press conference of yore were ultimately adverts too, but they were at least adverts for video games without commercials for delivery apps or fast food shoehorned in. And if a game was shown during a Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation presentation, it was because they thought it might encourage people to buy their console, not because the developer paid a fee to have their trailer held up in front of a bunch of people. That's how most of these showcases and live streams work now. Pay your money, get your slot. The organizers of Gamescom Opening Night Live, being German, published the rates for these appearances. They start at $85,000 for a 30-second spot. This probably works better for developers who paid far more for actual booths at an event like E3. But then a couple of hours on Sunday, Xbox showed up and finally brought a little gravitas to proceedings. It was well curated. 27 games rather than 40, and encouragingly diverse rather than the US-centric. They were all new games from the studios that Microsoft has acquired over the last few years. The RPG specialists at Obsidian are making their own fantasy RPG to fill the gap between Elder Scrolls is left in the 12 years since Skyrim. InXile's Clockwork Revolution gave such a strong Bioshock Infinite vibe. Older games showed interesting developments such as Rare's long-running Sea of Thieves, getting a Monkey Island crossover. Playground Games' new Fable trailer gave us a lot of hope. And there's a new JRPG from some of the Persona's creator, ReFantazio. And naturally, there are some critically pleasing independent games, etc., etc. This is the kind of lineup that Xbox has been sorely lacking over the years, and the kind that PlayStation might be rightly envious of. Sony has had an extremely strong start to the current generation of consoles. Since the PS5 was released in 2020, it has been home to several proper 5-star classics like God of War Ragnarok and Ratchet & Clank, alongside plenty of other big-budget games to make you feel good about spending so much on a space-age piece of high-tech plastic to sit under your TV. Meanwhile, Microsoft brought out a Halo game that bore obvious scars of troubled development. The Forza Horizon series and Flight Simulator, they're good, but they're not as sexy in terms of, what people are talking about. Xbox has mostly made headlines in the past few years for throwing stunningly huge amounts of games at other game companies rather than for any hit games. But games take a long time to make, and Xbox was coming into the generation at a disadvantage. After the Xbox One failed to compete with PS4 on any level, now we're seeing the fruits of years' worth of efforts from Xbox's leaderships and its studios to fix things, and make its subscription service Game Pass look irresistible. They've done a good job at this, and there's a clear vision for the creative future of games as well as the future as a business. When he interviewed Xbox's head of developer relations, Sarah Bond, she made the case for diversifying the games that Xbox publishes as an opportunity and an imperative. The full diversity of the worlds and represented by the creators in gaming today. Now, Sony has understood this for a long time. Having two of gaming's most powerful platform holders forging ahead with the attitude is great news for those of us who want interesting things to play. He's made it no secret in his newsletter and his opinions on Microsoft's attempted Activision merger. I believe the companies attempting to buy market dominance is rarely good for creative industry. Corporatism and creativity are natural enemies, but companies with money that don't overstep and have a genuine stake in the games industry and what it means beyond financial rewards can also help developers to make the things that they can dream of. And I sort of made this point in my original response to the Xbox showcase. And what I meant by that was they helped out. If you just look at InXile, they were doing like those over the top Diablo style looking games, and they were received well, but now they finally have the funding to do what they really want to do. And we're starting to see people go, that dominance that Sony had is over. It's over. It's long over, and it's long overdue as well. I can't wait. I still have high hopes for the Activision deal. It looks like that's going to get sped up. If they can get the FTC thing thrown out, if they can get that approval, I think they're going to go ahead regardless of the CMA. It's all lining up to be good. What do you all think about this stuff, though? Are you guys on board with what Microsoft has planned? I'm very curious to hear about it. You guys have been absolutely fantastic and much appreciated. Everything that you guys do. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so. You guys are amazing, so thank you very much. Have a great day. I'm Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Rack 'em up.